All right. So now that the meeting has been recorded, we're going to get started. And first of all, thanks everybody for joining. If you jump in on the call and you're on mute, we're just trying to ease the background noise so that we can do everything we can to have a smooth recording that we will share with people as we move forward. But thanks again, everyone, for joining us. My name is Chuck Hughes, and I'm the chair of the Friends of Harvard Hockey, and looking forward to a 1 hour town hall this evening with our two esteemed coaches, Coach Donato and Coach Stone. And we're going to have a couple of players join us for a few minutes this afternoon or this evening to talk about their experiences. And so I also want to wish everybody a happy Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah. There are some friends and teammates who are celebrating one of the holiest days, and that is my gaffe that we had sent the invitations out and I didn't check the Jewish holidays. But we did assure our friends that asked, we are recording this and we are sending it to them so everybody can get a taste of Harvard hockey in the midst of our pandemic. So tonight's agenda is informal, but I wanted to use it as an opportunity for us to all get our hockey fix, knowing that we will not be stepping on the ice at least before the first of the year, and let's knock on wood and hope that it is something that we'll be doing. But that along the way, there's been so much going on and so much uncertainty. The Friends of Hockey board and our coaches thought it'd be a great idea to talk a little bit about what they've been doing during this time and how they're preparing for an upcoming season, continuing their work as coaches and mentors, and of course, thinking ahead about how this will impact the recruiting process for the years to come. But for those of you who don't know me, I thought it would be helpful just to give you my 2-minute pitch about the Friends of Harvard Hockey, our agenda, what we do, and then we'll get right into it and really make this primarily about the coaches. But our agenda tonight is I'm going to deliver about a 2-minute welcome, but show maybe some of you some things about Harvard Hockey that you didn't know in the past, or you might find helpful and interesting. I'm co-chair of the Friends of Harvard Hockey. We have a really engaged and active board of about 35 people who participate in regular board meetings, and we talk about the fundraising and finance for what we're doing. And it's been really an awesome thing for me to be a part of since 2014. We'll then go to a coaches forum with Coach Stone and Coach Donato. Mitchell Gibson, class of 23, and Rose O'Connor, class of 24, are going to join us. And then we're going to open it up to your questions. So as we are going through this evening's presentation, we want to hear from you. What would you like to ask the coaches? What would you like to ask Rose and Mitchell? We just thought it would be a great way for you to kind of get updated on what we've been up to. So from my end of the spectrum, what I thought I would share is just a little bit more information about who are we? What is the Friends of Harvard Hockey? And why are we doing what we're doing? Well, the Friends, this is from our charter. We exist to support intercollegiate hockey programs throughout Harvard University, and our philanthropy is designed to supplement our university allocation, social events, communications, and other activities deemed important by the university to run outstanding hockey programs. Essentially, what do? From year to year, we raise money for many of you who are supportive and part of the program, and we fund about 18 to 23% of the men's and women's hockey budgets. If you're ever wondering, what do we cover? We cover the recruiting efforts and our coaches flying around the country, evaluating players in Canada, the US, and abroad. Equipment. Yes, we take on a huge burden, and the coaches will give you a sense tonight about what does it cost to outfit a player. And for any of you who have grandchildren or children who play, sticks are not cheap anymore. Out of region travel. One of, I think, the most important things that we've been able to do as a friends group is to support our out of region travel, which the university doesn't cover. So when the women go play in Nashville or the men go play in Anaheim, those are opportunities that the Friends has covered. And we've really taken pride in these kids. They're way, way in better shape than when we played. And you have to feed them. You have to fuel their bodies. And so we support them with January term meals. We help provide them good meals when they're traveling on the road. And every dollar we raise really goes into trying to support the player experience. And so I just thought I would, quickly show you on your screens our budget. This year, our fundraising efforts have actually been dramatically cut just based on this year's financial crisis, where we're going to be asked to raise about $200,000 in gifts We were fortunate enough to raise an endowment in the name of Coach Cleary that generates about 135 or 140,000 in income, some of which is already allocated to other things, but we have that. And then we have expenses that cover the things that we're talking about here. This is a temporary budget based on whether we play or not. So this is flexible based on return to play. But I just thought I would share this with everyone to say, what do you do with the money? What are the things that we do? And if you look at last year in fiscal year 20, we raised 490,000 in gifts back in 20. So it was a really good year. And you can see that our expenses were about 640,000 with teams taking trips. That trips can cost us $40,000 to $50,000 when you're bringing 30 players and team players. So we're really proud and excited about what we do. And I'm going to end my screen sharing momentarily, but just to say that this was my 2-minute pitch to say, if you are interested in supporting friends, come to gocrimson.com. You can allocate a gift to hockey, and we so greatly appreciate it. Okay, I'm done. That's not why you came tonight. So I'm here to introduce our coaches. I'm really excited to have a panel and talk with them a little bit about what's been happening this year. And so for those of you who don't know our awesome coaching staff, Katie Stone is the Landry family head coach. She begins her 26th season this year as the head coach of the women's program, and Ted Donato, class of 91, is the Robert D. Ziff head coach for the men's program, who is beginning his 17th season. And coaches, I thank you both for joining tonight. And I guess what I'd love to start with is, Katie, I'd just love to have you talk a little bit about what the last 6 months has been like for you, your program, and give all of our alums a little bit of a sense of what you've been experiencing and going through.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chuck, for that introduction. And thanks everyone for being on the call today. I know everyone's lives are busy and complicated in different ways, so really appreciate you taking the time. This has been it's just been wild. We were very fortunate in one sense to have completed our season, and then 2 days later, President Bacow canceled all remaining winter sports and spring sports. Unfortunately, we lost to Cornell, but at least we had some closure to our season, which was really good for our seniors. And so I consider us one of the lucky ones with regard to that. The spring, usually it was not your typical off season. There were all kinds of Zooms and many, many questions from our kids about what's going on and just trying to sort through what their plans might be in the event that we might be able to come back to campus, if we weren't able to come back to campus. And so basically, let me give you a quick little snapshot of where we're at right now. We admitted 7 freshmen this past year. 2 of them are on campus. One you'll hear from tonight, Rose O'Connor. They're first year's freshmen. And all of their work is being done remotely on campus. We have 2 working remotely off campus, and we have 3 of those first years that deferred. And so that's the picture of our first year class. In addition, we only have 1 of our upper class returners that is enrolled right now for the fall semester. Everyone else has taken a leave in the hopes that we will have hopefully an opportunity to come back and play and study in January. And in the event that happens, they will all return to campus so that we will be able to compete. But it's very complicated trying to sort through what they wanted to do, what they felt was best for them. And then, making sure that they had jobs and things that were going to keep them busy, keep them sane, motivated, as well as their training. I think the training piece of it for us, quite frankly, is the easiest part of it. If they're on campus, they actually started their training today. We moved into phase 1 of the compact on campus. And so our 2 first years were able to start their lifting today with our strength and conditioning coach. But for all the kids that are not on campus, they were able to continue or modify and just depending on where they were going to be, getting ice and proper training so that we're trying to make it look like it's a bit of an extended summer is how we've tried to frame it with our players. So It's a thrill a minute. Things change all the time. You're not sure what's going to happen, but you just have to go with it. I think it's important for all of us to be nimble, and our kids are incredibly resilient. I'm so proud of them. And I'll take your questions after.
Awesome. Ted, I'd love to start with, for many of the people who haven't heard from you since the season ended, your season ended in a slightly different manner, which was you weren't done with your season. So I'd love, similar to what you did, what Katie did, maybe start with, the RPI weekend and then how the guys have handled that since and what your team's been up to.
Yeah, well, I think first off, I mean, Harvard made the decision, probably about 48 hours in advance of everybody else. And so I think naturally our guys were, frustrated, disappointed. At the time, none of us had a great handle on really what we were dealing with. And then, over, a couple of days, I think everybody felt better about the decision. And actually, I think it was the NBA that followed, I think, within 24 hours and canceled. But, I mean, just, same across, all the sports, but to not be able to kind of have the, finish your season, to be able to play in the playoffs, not to be able to, kind of give a proper send off to your seniors, to not have a senior spring. There was just not unique to us, but a lot of challenges, a lot of unknown, kids all going home. So I think that as a group, I think we managed it the best we could. And I feel like, I felt like the conversations, the Zoom calls, the different things we did, kept everybody informed. I think we all believed at the time that, we were going to take, 3 weeks or more maybe to maybe get a better handle. But I don't think any of us thought that, that we would be sitting in this position today. So it's been a very challenging, set of circumstances for everybody. For us, it's been especially tough. We've lost, a lot of players, some really good players, some great team leaders. Some guys have chosen to, move on to try to start their professional career. It's bittersweet. Obviously, we're happy for them, and they get a chance to kind of follow their, dreams and aspirations. But I think, pretty much, I think all but one of them had made the decision that he was coming back, and was excited about the team. We felt like we had really, a team that sometimes takes years and years to come about. We had, the last 2 years, we had the top 3 leading scorers, for rookies in the league. Last year, we had the top 3 leading scorers. We had the top 3 leading defenseman scorers. So we had a great recruiting class. So we kind of felt like the stars were aligning for us to have a great season. And I think the guys were all excited about it. And then as the summer went along, and we as a school, we made a decision to just bring back the first years in the first semester. I think as of today, you could make a case that there are a lot of schools very challenged by bringing back the whole student population. So, but it's brought a lot of issues and challenges, and each kid, each family, has a unique situation. And I'm sure Katie would say the same. These kids are trying to make decisions, with their families. Obviously, Harvard has an 8-semester rule of being on campus. So kids, so that's a little bit of a challenge, so that, for example, we may have, let's say we have a player who's a junior and, is really excited about his final 2 years of playing hockey before he goes on to the real world, if you will. And if we weren't to play in the spring, then even if he could come back, he would only have, if he was enrolled the whole time, he would have another year of eligibility with the NCAA, but he would not have necessarily, by the way it's written now, he wouldn't have another year with Harvard. So kids, so that's a challenge a little bit. You have kids that want to protect the quality of their experience. So we've been dealing with that, trying to help kids make decisions. We have kids that have opportunities to play hockey elsewhere right now, so they're doing school online. As of the end of the week, we'll have kids in Toronto and Dubuque and West Kelowna, British Columbia, Chicago. These kids are all taking their classes online, hoping that we get great news. We really haven't seen any, positive indications, unfortunately, to this point from our administration, but we're still hopeful. So, we're trying to keep everybody, involved, invested, and feeling, good about, coming back to school and having some normalcy. But the layers to this are challenging for everybody. Even with admission spots, there's a great amount of challenge because you have kids that have chosen to defer. So for us, we had, we lost two very good recruits in, basically in the month of August. One that decided, to go to Boston College, another one that decided to go to Michigan. One going to Michigan because he felt that they had a much better chance at playing. They convinced him that they were going to play, and Harvard wasn't going to play. And then you have a whole group of kids that you recruit for next year, but then with the deferrals, how does that challenge admissions with the number of spots they have? So it's complicated for everybody. And, for us right now, we're doing we're really trying to manage what the roster might look like over the next couple of years. We've got probably about 5 different variations of schedules, whether it's ECAC schedules, whether it's a local schedule. We're on conference calls, Zoom calls, weekly with the ECAC, with the NCAA. We're trying to figure out what out of region, or out of conference, non-conference games might look like. Would we play the Bean Pot? Would we, have a chance to play in against BC or BU locally? These are all things that we're working on, but unfortunately, we just don't know, the landscape right now. And from a timing standpoint, I think at one point, we were told that, Halloween may be, a good time frame to maybe get some answers. More recently, we've been told maybe late November, early December. So I do think the target seems to move a little bit. And, the one thing that we were on a conference call last week with Dean Claudine Gay and Rakesh Khurana and President Bacow, and basically Dean Gay said that she felt that it would be difficult to return, without a vaccine that was, available, to all, and that's return to full capacity. So, I think it's very challenging times. We've got, very complicated situations on almost every player and the situation that they're in. And, and Katie, I'm sure, is in the exact same spot. We've got, we had a recruiting class of, of 8 plus one player that had deferred last year. So in total at 9, we lost 2, as I mentioned earlier. We had an international student from Canada, from Toronto, who wasn't allowed to take classes in person. Thought that maybe, putting a gap year might be the best solution for him. So we're down to 6, and there's challenges even with that, because we've had kids that get invited to tryouts. So we have, one player that got invited to try out for the U.S. World Junior team. And, the response there is, if you go to the tryout, that's great, but, don't come back. So he would be on campus for like 3 weeks. So it's challenging. I think everybody's trying to do the best they could. Some days are very frustrating. You feel like you're spinning your wheels, just trying to handle all these, crisis situations. But, I guess, the hope is that better days are ahead. We're excited. We would do, a few Zoom calls, a week on recruiting where we're constantly, trying to figure out the best way to kind of reload our roster and get back up to full strength with some great, young men. So it's a challenge, but it's fun. We're trying to stay upbeat, and I think our guys just, like everybody else in the world, just want to return to normalcy.
I think we all do, Ted. That's for sure. Katie, Ted mentioned something that I thought was interesting in terms of, how players are skating. And I know the men have the USHL, but how are your female athletes, particularly those who aren't on campus, who are no longer old enough to play for their club teams? Like, what are they doing to stay in shape? And maybe after that, you could talk a little bit about how COVID's impacted your recruiting process.
Sure. So, again, a lot of the kids have continued to work with the trainers that they have in the summer at their local rinks, because they're not allowed on campus. We have a group of our kids that are in California training together. We've got some kids in Toronto training together, and with some other college kids that are in the same situation that ours are. We've got some Boston kids that are working out and working on that training piece as well. So they're kind of in little pockets all over the place. And again, I think that we've been very fortunate. That's been the easiest part of it for us. And I think at the beginning of when this all happened, everybody was panicking that, what am I going to do? How am I going to train? What if I can't get into the gym right away? And they've realized that, the time does come, and they're able to get back at their programs. And the off-ice piece of our program is crucial to us at this time of year. And now they've been able to supplement all of that with ice time. So that hasn't been as difficult an issue for us, which is good. From a recruiting standpoint, when this whole thing happened back in March and April, and the NCAA put a dead period on recruiting, not allowing any of us to go anywhere, we as a staff felt really great about where we were, because we had committed 2 full classes, this year's and next year's. And so just getting ahead of it, really, our recruiting coordinator, Lee J. Marisol, has done a fantastic job, and Sid Daniels, and working really hard to forecast the future and find those future kids that are going to be great people in our program. So we felt great about it. And then the piece is what Teddy was mentioning, is the admissions piece. And will we be able to have all of our targets? And we've been told that we're going to honor our commitments. And so that's where it became a little dicey for us. We're thinking, wait a second, if we don't have our word, what do we have? And so, but we are going forward with our committed class for this year. And unless we hear otherwise, we'll be doing the same for next year. And then we'll work through what happens after that. So, because at that point, 3 years out, we don't have a full committed class of kids yet. So that's a place where we could have a little bit of a buffer. So we're just doing the best we can with it. And hopefully we'll, in the next few weeks, we'll have some good news about kids getting into Harvard. And, there are going to be different challenges, obviously, with, like rosters being a little bit bigger than they normally are and those types of things. But, as I've said to our kids, it's going to make us a lot better. And so we'll handle whatever challenges come our way.
On the and this is for both of you, and Katie, maybe you go first. So in the next group of kids you're evaluating, not being able to recruit off campus, like, are there creative methods? Are you watching more video, or is it just a sit tight approach right now?
No, we're definitely watching more video, and all of these, it's kind of going back to the way it was, but it's a higher quality video now. And so, and there are a lot of stream tournaments that are going on. And so we have an opportunity to do some of that too. But, to say that we haven't committed that entire class 3 years from now doesn't mean we haven't already seen them a number of times. So, I'm not concerned about our recruiting situation, other than to make sure that through the admissions process, we're able to keep our targets where we wanted them to be.
Ted, how about you in terms of how the travel restrictions are impacting how you recruit and evaluate?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think we have a pretty good portion of our class, kind of preparing for admissions. Obviously, with some sports, they're really, it's a challenge because there haven't been a lot of SATs available. So the Ivy League and Harvard has decided that they won't make SATs mandatory, but to this point, we haven't got a full clarification as to how they will, figure out the AI. I think the presidents are meeting. I think the deans of admissions are meeting this week, and I think on the 1st, I believe the presidents of the Ivy League are meeting. So that will obviously play a role in what's going on with admissions. And I mean, it's an interesting dynamic because while the school, I think, wants to the sports to try to remain whole and competitive, there is a challenge with having a lot more athletes maybe on campus because of it versus what the normal percentage is. So I think the normal percentage is 22% of varsity athletes. So I think that's that's a little bit of a challenge for us recruiting wise. We're watching a lot of video. We're some of it are guys that we are trying to project. How quickly they're going to be able to help us out. We have some of our own players actually playing as well. So, to be quite honest with you, we're kind of happy at this point to be able to watch some hockey and see some of these guys play. Most of it right now to this point has been, limited to a couple of scrimmages, and the hope is that they'll eventually be playing games so that we can watch them. But a lot of the other stuff is kind of the preseason stuff, the split season stuff, and that's the same thing. Most of them are starting to make their games available. I think in the Northeast a little bit, the games have not been available as much because, quite frankly, I think the rinks are, haven't figured out how to control the people that are in the rink as far as wearing masks and staying away from each other. So until they do that, some of them have been reluctant to share video of their facilities. So that's a little bit of a challenge, but there's certainly nothing to replace being in the rink, being able to talk to a coach after a game, seeing how a kid reacts, interacts with his teammates, things that are much more difficult to pick up, just watching the video.
Right. That's great, Ted. Both of you, I'd love to hear from each of you. And Katie, if you could start. We have a new athletic director, and many of the people on this call may have not had much interaction with Aaron McDermott. And I'd love to ask each of you to talk a little bit about your interactions with her, her thoughts about hockey, and how you feel, we as a friends group and hockey programs are going to be able to work with our athletic director.
Absolutely. I'm hopeful. I think, I knew Erin back when she was at Princeton. She used to sit in on some of our ECAC meetings down at our convention, and I wouldn't say I knew her well, but knew of her as an acquaintance. And, our interactions have been good thus far. I think she's an excellent communicator. I think she's a big hockey fan, pretty excited to be back at a place that has hockey, two really strong hockey programs. So that's encouraging. And, I think she listens, and obviously, in the position that she's in, she's not gonna be able to say yes to everything, but I'm hopeful and look forward to meeting her in person.
Ted, how about you?
Yeah, I think I would agree with everything that Katie said. I think she's been an excellent communicator. Obviously, she's had a tough hand so far to play with in relation to, basically relaying bad news most of the time. But I think she's done a very nice job. I'm excited. She seems to bring an energy that is got everybody excited, and she seems to take a real interest in in making sure the programs have an opportunity to be successful, and that we're kind of living up to the ethos of the school, if you will. So I think there's a lot to be excited about, but unfortunately, we just haven't been allowed to spend all that much time on campus. So it's been a tough situation to kind of really gauge to this point.
Before we turn our attentions to the student athletes who have joined us on tonight's panel, I wanted to ask a twofold question for each of you. The first being, since we have a group of alum, talk a little bit about, each of your approaches to thinking forward to the kinds of things you want to accomplish, from places you want to go out of reach and travel, how, our alumni can help. I think, because those two things go hand in hand, like where you see you taking each of your programs, and what can our alum do, aside from giving financially, what kind of things can they do to stay engaged with the men's and women's programs? Katie?
Sure. Well, obviously, or definitely the fact that we have opportunities to compete on the national stage. Obviously, we're both programs are trying to win a national championship along the road of other championships, hopefully. But being able to go to Nashville or go out to Wisconsin and play in front of a sold out crowd against the #1 seed in the country, our kids remember that more than anything. It sometimes is less about the outcome and more about the experience. And I think that that's critical to our success as we continue to build and take another step forward in our next season. So I think those things are really important. And also just the presence in our rink and with our kids, as far as networking and helping them along the way with whatever it might be. That's, Harvard is, as we often say on the recruiting trail, it's not about the 4 years, it's about the next 45 years of your life. And making the decision to come to a place like Harvard means you're part of this incredible network. And so it's great to see people at the rink, on the road, whether we're in Minnesota or we're in upstate New York. It's always awesome to have people stop in after and say hello. Our kids love it. And if we can continue to do that, that would be awesome.
Yeah, and I would also add, to me, I think the Friends group has their support allows us to have the resources to allow for our student athletes, our players, to remain competitive both on the ice and in the classroom. And I think for us, some of the things that we're able to do, because our Friends group is so great, is about the whole development package, whether it's culture, whether it's leadership, whether it's really trying to honor achievements that are both on and off the ice, Just looking out at the crowd, I see Bill Alford, I see Tim Brown, two great advocates for our team, both in some of the decisions they have to make as far as, academically, maybe career-wise, maybe law school with Bill, different things that come up. Just an incredible resource. And, so we're really grateful of that. I think, for us, we've really, I think, found a good recipe to try to have success off the ice and on the ice. And I think that's really where we want to be. Some of the stuff we've done with the O2X stuff, the leadership development, to me, those are all important to helping us graduate the type of people that we want to represent Harvard hockey. And I think all the while when they're on campus, I think that there's a really good, I think there's a really good vibe as to, how our players are measuring up both, in competition and in the classroom and just as people of the community. And I think that's exciting. And that is certainly, very much due to the support we have in our friends group.
Well said, Ted. And to echo that, some of you you may be hearing from us. We're going to actually try to document some of this. I think one of the points that our athletic director made, Aaron McDermott, was that, we want to be more proactive in letting people on the academic side of the river understand that our student athletes truly are well-rounded and engaged. So we're going to be trying to pull a data project together in the next few months, looking at careers by industry of our graduates. As I've been running it, I'm privy to talk to Ted and Katie and find out what young undergrads are doing and touch base with many of you and what your careers are doing. But I'm not sure if the people who run the university see all the great things that people are doing in medicine and finance and in education. And so we're going to try to be more present on that side of things and get people the information on what the Harvard Hockey Network is up to. I want to transition for a few minutes. We're lucky enough to have a couple of student athletes with us this evening and talk a little bit about their unique COVID experiences. And I think most of us really appreciate connecting with the players themselves. And so as we move into the second phase, if anybody wants to send questions to our two student athletes, to Teddy, Katie, you can send them through text, and Trevor and I are going to kind of filter through and try to get to as many as we can. And we'll probably go to 9:05, but we don't like to stay too late in the process. So, on that note, if Mitchell, Gibson, and Rose O'Connor could take their screens off. Mitch, I don't have a picture of you, so I decided to put a picture of myself up as a goaltender union. And I'll start with you. Mitchell Gibson's a sophomore goalie from Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. He finished his rookie season. He's a sophomore now with an 11-8-3 record and earned all ECAC rookie team honors and all Ivy League honorable mention. He was drafted by the Washington Capitals in 2008 in the 4th round. And in 2018-19 played for the Central Illinois Flying Aces in the USHL. Rose O'Connor, she's a first-year defensewoman from Newton who finished just a PG year at Phillips Academy Andover via Noble and Greeno, where she served as a team captain in 2018 and 19. Last year, she also played club hockey for the Bay State Breakers, and Rose lives in Wigglesworth Hall. So I appreciate both of you joining us tonight. And if you could just unmute yourself. But Mitch, I'd love to start with you and just ask you to, tell everybody what you've been doing this fall and trying to balance school and staying in shape for hockey.
Yeah, for sure. But thank you, Mr. Hughes, for having me on. It's good to see Coach Donato and Coach Stone as well, and a few familiar faces. But yeah, it's certainly been, an unprecedented one with, I guess trying to strategize and how you want to get ready for the season and, whenever that might be. So for me personally, I'm trying to plan it out for a January 1st start, kind of ramp up training and ramp up everything for that. And really just kind of hope for the best. That's all we really can do from there. Yeah, again, I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, so it's a little bit better than I think what's going on in Mass right now. I'm lucky I have a few friends that are AHL, ECHL guys who are in that kind of similar boat. For me personally, I'm a 21-year-old sophomore, so I wasn't able to go and play in the USHL or in other junior leagues. So it's been a kind of weird transition trying to figure out, my options in terms of training and, still making sure that I can hit the gym and find ice to make sure I'm ready. But yeah, the school has been, certainly different with the Zoom classes. It's, much like this. And so, I tried to take all morning classes just to try to get the same feel as being on campus and trying to wake up early. So I'm not, sleeping in until 3 o'clock every day and just trying to keep myself in a disciplined routine. So again, like I said, I've been waking up early, taking classes from maybe, noon to 1 o'clock. And then just depends. I'll either try to go hop on the ice, go hop in the gym. And, over this next couple months, we'll kind of slowly ramp up into the season, again, hoping for that January 1st start. And I think a lot of the guys in the sophomore class have been doing similar things. I know I think we have 3 guys who are going to play junior hockey currently. So they have that luxury of being able to, have ice every day and ramp up their intensity. But it's guys like myself and Nick Abrazizi, Austin Wong, who's stuck in Canada right now, that are trying to find their own kind of formula for how to get ready.
You mentioned taking online classes. I'd love you to tell everybody a little bit about what you're studying and, what are your courses and what is an online learning experience like for you?
Yeah. Personally, for me, not my favorite. I'll say that right off the bat. I would love to be, in class, interacting with kids. I think the social aspect of the whole thing is really the thing that's missing, not being able just to turn to your buddy in class and say, hey, what did the teacher say again? Or did you catch that? Or, be able to, compare notes or just the little things like that you're missing a lot. It's really annoying trying to be on a Zoom call and, trying to use the art function to draw out what you're saying. And so it's certainly different from that, but you have to make the most of it. And obviously teachers aren't going to change what they're doing. They want to still convey the same material. So currently I'm planning on concentrating in economics with a minor in government. So I'm taking for everyone, Ec 1010, Stat 104, Gov 1010, and a Gen Ed class as well. So that's my route. And we have a couple other guys who are in the same boat. So, it's been a lot of FaceTime calls, a lot of Zoom calls between players just to make sure everyone's kind of holding each other accountable and that we're still getting the work done.
Mitchell, I think last question, I'm going to turn to Rose for a few. I think you probably are taking more math this semester than Coach Donato and I did in our 4 years of Harvard combined. I'm curious, how has economics changed from like a quantitative perspective? Are you seeing, more of a heavy emphasis on math and quant now?
So for my first year, we had a great 2 professors, Jason Furman and David Leibson, who switched from Mankiw's philosophy, which is a little bit more math-based. Mankiw and Furman and Leibson are a little bit more theoretical. So my first year, we kind of swayed away from that. And then this year, it's kind of getting back more into the graphs with Professor Boykow. So it's definitely kind of it was a pretty big disparity between the 2 years. But yeah, so still kind of in that transition, trying to figure it out as we speak.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Rose, I'd love to hear about, your trajectory. You're a first year student living on campus, and tell us about your background and how you made the progression from Nobles to Phillips Andover, and then even what your first year of life has been like so far.
Yeah, and thank you for having me tonight. So I went to Nobles for 4 years and I played field hockey, ice hockey, and crew. And I decided end of my sophomore year that a postgraduate route would be what would work best for me. So I transitioned to Andover last year. I had a great year. I actually played my Nobles team in the New England finals against my little sister, my old coaches and teammates. So that was awesome. And I moved into campus on the 31st of August, and it was definitely quiet the first few days. We had to quarantine in our rooms, but it's gotten much better since. We've slowly been allowed to do more things, see more people. There's no buildings really open on campus besides our dorms, so you have to do everything outside. We get our food from the dining hall, and I've been going to the Widener Library steps a lot to do my work there just to get outside and not sit in my room all day. But I've loved all my online classes. I'm taking a math course, Spanish, a freshman seminar called Memory Wars, Cultural Trauma, which is about the Holocaust, racism, slavery, and mass incarceration. And I'm also taking a XFAS 20 writing class called Are Prisons Obsolete, which has been my favorite class so far because I'm really interested in social justice and criminal justice. So we just finished reading our first book by Angela Davis called Are Prisons Obsolete and writing a paper on it. And that was really fun for me because I actually had the chance to meet Angela Davis last year. She came and spoke at Andover. But yeah, this year's definitely been different from what I was expecting for a long time, but it's also been special in a way because I think the freshmen are getting to know each other really well. And I've met like so many different people with such different interests and on different teams. It's also been a nice slow transition into schoolwork, and I feel like I've been able to get more involved with my classes versus having to think about a practice schedule in a normal year. But yeah, so there's only me and one other freshman on the hockey team on campus, and today was really fun because we got to start our lifts for the first day. So us two and the girls lacrosse players, we did conditioning on the turf, and then we're able to go into the gym and lift with a group. It's groups of 10 or less, and they have all the socially distanced equipment set up. And we're hopeful to maybe have some skating at some point on campus if everything keeps going well. But yeah, I can't wait for the full team to be here, and it's been nice meeting all the girls over Zoom, and all the older girls on the team have been checking in a lot and been really helpful so far.
So Rose, so many of us on the call remember our freshman year fondly. And freshman year life is pretty awesome. Tell me a little bit about your WIG dorm, right? Because everybody's got a single, so I imagine that it's half capacity. How's it been like to get to know people within your entryway?
Yeah, so actually I thought the dorms would be just one person per room, but I actually have two suite mates. We have a common room with 3 rooms branching off. So I have one of my roommates is a golfer and the other one is on the crew team. So that's been really helpful having them to hang out with during the day because it does get a little lonely sitting in your room all day on Zooms. And other than that, we've been having a lot of entryway Zooms with the other Wigglesworth and Cabot dorm members, with our proctors having some study breaks, different games they set up. So the proctors have been helpful helping us get in touch with each other.
What based on what you've experienced so far, what's the one thing you'd like to see improve between now and second semester if you're on campus for a second semester?
I would definitely say, especially as it's starting to get colder out, maybe see a few more buildings open, different study spaces, so that you can maybe get together with different people in your class in person, because I think that's an important way to build connections versus having everything over Zoom.
Right. That's a really great point. Mitch, back to you in terms of, your transition from freshman year, to this year, tell me a little bit about how you may have roommates or on the team, you may not have roommates, but it was a big deal. Rose, you'll get to do this yourself before too long, but it was a big deal, right? When you were going through the rooming process, and maybe it wasn't exciting or happy for all of us, but take us through how you ended up choosing your roommates and how the freshman lottery played out for you.
Yeah, I think it was pretty easy for us. We just basically had 7 classmates, and everyone just stayed together. Then we added one additional roommate of one of our teammates. So yeah, I think as it gets closer towards maybe February, I believe March is the usual date for it. Obviously, it was a little messed up this year. You start to get a better idea of who you want to live with, and it's obviously a big decision, but it was pretty easy for hockey players. We are all going through it together, and so I pretty different this year, having been quadded. I think that was the first time in a while that we got Courier House, so that'll be a pretty long walk to the rink, but I think it's gonna definitely bind us all together a little bit closer, and have to get electric scooters and kind of make that work. But no, we didn't have the chance to do housing day this year. I believe that was the week before everybody left, or the whole the shutdown came. So I believe that was the first thing to actually get canceled out of anything. So that was I think the Thursday before, and then by that next Tuesday, everybody was out. So definitely looking forward to that.
So Mitch, I got one thing to share with you, which would be There's nothing wrong with being quadded, which would be my senior year living in the 10-man of Courier House. So my background screen is now.
Courier as well. That's awesome. Okay.
That's right. So there's something to be said about living in the dorm, and that's a Muppets bed sheet that I had for my
That's awesome.
10-man party. So I think I see a few horrified faces and a few smiles in the background, but Courier's not such a bad place after all.
Hope to get a few photos just like that one. And
Yeah. Thank God they didn't have cell phones back then. I'll just say that. Rose, tell me a little bit about, what you're interested in studying. You mentioned some interesting courses, but do you have a vision for what you want to study as an undergraduate?
Yeah, so I am not positive on what I want to concentrate in yet. So I was definitely really more interested in math all throughout high school, but during my year last year at Andover, I had more flexibility on the classes I got to take. So I actually took a course called Lockdown, which was also about mass incarceration and the prison system. And so I think taking that course kind of helped me shift my focus a little bit. And I've definitely become more interested in these sorts of classes. I definitely want to take a few different types of classes next year to see if there's anything else I'm really interested in, but yeah, so along that route.
Oh, that's great. Mitch, I know it's early. You're only a sophomore, and most of us want to play hockey for a bit when we graduate, but have you started to think about like whether it was last year's summer internship, although that probably got canceled with COVID, but do you have a vision for where you think you might be heading, when your hockey days are over or when you graduate?
I think I'm keeping it more open for now. I was supposed to do a summer internship with InvestNet, and obviously here in Philadelphia, and obviously that got turned down. So something along those routes. It's kind of different. My dad's in cybersecurity, so I have a little bit of that background. But no, I think I'm keeping it open, and I believe after this year I'll have a little bit better idea of what field I want to go into. And then just kind of keep refining that as the years go on into junior and senior year. But like you mentioned, I think it's tough not having the internship opportunities come up where you can get a sense of what you want to go into. So I think that's just the next step, to hope that something like that opens up in the next year to get a better idea of what I would want to go into.
No, absolutely. I'm curious, and Mitch, you and Rose, talk a little bit about your decisions, and maybe it's obvious because we all are Harvard alum, but take us through each of your decisions on why you chose to attend Harvard. And Mitchell, I'll start with you.
Yeah, it was, I started getting recruited by Coach Donato my senior year, and it was, Harvard was actually my first offer. And it was the first real tour, and they just immediately, when I got on campus, they treated me like they wanted me, and that I can make an impact on the program. And the campus itself just blows you away when you're walking through that for the first time. I remember it was a fall day, similar like the one that we're seeing. The campus was in full bloom, and that alone almost just kind of swept me off my feet. I knew I always wanted to be in Boston, and you just can't deny Harvard when it comes knocking. So continue to talk to them. I believe I committed my November of my senior year. And just for goaltenders especially, it looked like the spot would be open for me as well. So that's big for goaltenders, that I would have a chance to play. Along, I knew at the time a few other classmates, Henry Thrun, Nick Eberzizi, I believe, had just committed. I knew we'd have a really strong class going into it, that we could have a great run at a championship. And at the time, that season I committed, they made the run to the Frozen Four. So everything along those lines just solidified it for me.
It's interesting, Mitch, because you said, November of your senior year, and for Rose, I'm sure it's going to be earlier on the women's side. As a goalie, that's late. Or I should say, compared to forwards who commit freshman, sophomore year, at least used to. Was it stressful for you having to sort of wait until senior year to have it figured out?
It's weird compared to your classmates. I think knowing, as a goalie, knowing that actually not most goalies commit until they get to juniors. And I knew I had to play juniors first before I really had an idea as to where I was going to go. So I just had to be patient at the time, and just know that I have that luxury of waiting a little bit more. Not a lot of college coaches want to see a goaltender go in as a true freshman. And for me, I took 2 gap years playing playing for the Lone Star Brahmas in the Null, and playing another year in the USHL for the Central Illinois Flying Aces. So, and that also helped me just mature as a person too, coming into Harvard. I feel like I learned a lot just from living with billet parents and coming into that. But No, I think if you could take that pressure off yourself, that definitely helps with the recruitment process.
Awesome. Rose, tell us about how you made your decision to come to Harvard.
Yeah, so I think it was said earlier, I live in Newton, Massachusetts, so about 15 minutes from campus. And one of my dad's close friends is Dr. Frank Wang, who is one of the athletic doctors at Harvard. And when I was younger, he used to take me and my brother to games and let us walk around in the locker room sometimes after games. So that was the first time I really got to see the Harvard rink and just loved it since then. I also had the chance to meet coaches throughout high school, and I think Sid's on here, but Sid coached me for a year at Nobles and helped get me in touch with everyone. So that was really helpful. And other than that, I'm really interested in like the liberal arts education, being able to explore a bunch of different courses to see what I'm most interested in, because I'm still, like I said earlier, I don't know exactly what I want to concentrate in. So I think that helps influence my decision a bit. And lastly, I have a bunch of older Nobles teammates who are on the team now, who I've been in touch with all throughout their years at Harvard, and they've just always said such amazing things. So that helped a lot too.
Awesome. Thank you both for being part of this workshop. It's been a joy to hear, and it makes me proud to be associated with Harvard with all that you both have to share. There may be some questions coming your way, but the first one is for Katie from John Reed, asking about where can the Boston Pod get ice if Harvard is not available to them? If there's a season in January, like how many women do you think will be able to return?
So for those kids, I mean, one of the first places I would start would probably be the Edge in Bedford, because we've got a Harvard connection there for ice. And until further notice, we won't be able to have anybody on campus. So that's, we'll just have to, that's TBD at this point. And then if we do turn things back up in January, I think we're going to have all of our returning players come back to campus, and we will, we have the opportunity, if possible. We've got our 2 first years on campus and our 2 first years remote. If they're able to come to campus, those 2 kids are Canadian. That we'll have plenty of kids to field the team.
Awesome. As we get nearer to the end, I guess what I'd love to, if another question pops in, I just love, each of coaches, Teddy, Katie, talk a little bit about, what are you doing to keep the kids' morale up, right? This is difficult. Like Mitchell said, like being online is not easy. I'm just, other than doing Zoom calls, how have you been able to keep their spirits up and keep them focused on what's riding ahead?
So I'll go first, Ted. We try not to oversaturate the kids with Zoom, because they've got so much going on, and their days are pretty full with all sorts of awesome internships and those kids that are in class. But we do have a calendar so that they can look ahead and plan for. We're continuing our speaker series, which is an alumni sponsored event that happens 3 times a year with women's hockey and women's soccer. We're going to have a mental skills program starting up in, I think it's the middle of next week, by Dr. Kim McManam and some other doctors out of Children's Hospital, which is going to be awesome. And it's going to lead us up till the beginning of December, in the hopes that we'll be able to utilize those learned skills once our season begins. And so just, trying to have the touch points that we need to stay connected. We're doing a lot of individual reaching out versus all the Zoom stuff, because it's not always as interactive as you would think it would be with the coaches on the Zooms. So we just try different things, and our kids are doing some amazing things with Voice in Sport, which is a women's advocacy organization, getting the vote out. And everybody at Harvard's been awesome about making sure that all the teams are registered to vote this November, and so our kids are staying pretty busy, and they're pretty stimulated, which is awesome.
Ted?
Yeah, I would say, very similar to Katie as well. First off, great job by Mitch and Rose. Really exciting. Just a reminder for us that we just get to work with really great kids, and it's it's what we miss, is being able to see those kids every day, and the energy and excitement that they bring, and seeing kids go through their freshman year, or seeing kids come back as a sophomore, with a newfound comfort level. And so it's a nice little pick me up, I think, for the coaches to see and hear from our kids again. But I think a lot of our players, it's a little bit of challenge now, because we have kids kind of all over the map, all in different situations. I see Susan Azar on my screen. She's so we have a handful of our seniors that are down in South Carolina, enjoying a little bit of the togetherness of their classmates, and studying, and hopefully finding a little bit of time to slide out and go to the beach, or go golfing. But it's a little bit of a challenge. Over the last few weeks, we've really tried to let them kind of get into their new routines. We sent up some workout information, but kind of let them get comfortable with their new routines and class assignments, get settled in. I think as October kind of hits, we will kind of look to reconnect and figure out, what we need to do to be helpful to them, to stay connected, to stay motivated. I think what we're really trying to focus on is, hey, we are really hoping that we come back in January, and if that's the case, how can we make this time, a positive time for them, allow them to, enjoy their, as much they can, some tough circumstances, but, unique opportunities maybe, and really just try to keep them connected so that we can come back, hopefully, and hit the ground running.
Question came in from Matt Clarita, and we may not have an answer, but I suspect, Katie, that this is something that Aaron across the athletic department is interested in. But, he was, asking about the 8th semester rule and what coaches think about the prospects of it being loosened or waived, because there are so many athletes that are being, stripped of their opportunity to compete. And I'm curious what Aaron's given you for feedback, what you've heard or been told.
So to date, they haven't addressed that, but they know it's on the burner. They're not just hockey players that their season runs over 2 semesters and creates some complications for the Ivy League. So when the time is right for that battle to start with regard to getting our kids waivers, I'm sure that there'll be many, many coaches and programs in line to try to make sure that we figure out their eligibility, but nothing's been done to date.
I had one more question for you, and then I think we'll try to close it up. But one of the questions came in, you've already lost a lot of other players. Do you worry about that there are others likely to sign if, the January season's canceled?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think, recent history would suggest that I should be at least concerned. But I think, everybody's case is different. And, I'm not so sure that, that at this point, anybody can feel all that confident that hockey will be played shortly, or that, certainly professional hockey, or NHL hockey or AHL hockey without fans. So, we'll see how it plays out. I mean, we've obviously lost some really, some great players and great, and great team guys. So, that's frustrating, but it's also some, there's some great opportunity for some young guys to take another big jump. We're excited about some of our freshmen. We want to see how it all works together. But yeah, I think the longer we don't play hockey, the more challenging it becomes for all the coaches.
Thanks. 1 minute final parting thoughts, Ted, Kate? Ted, you want to go first?
Sure. Well, I would just say, as I look at, the people on the call, and I can't single out everybody, I see people that have been really great supporters of our program and great friends to our players in so many different ways, not only in, being parents or coming to games or having played at Harvard or had kids at Harvard, but really just being advocates for our players in life in general. And I think, that to me is really the difference of what we're, selling at Harvard. We're selling a network of people that really go the extra distance to make sure our players, have a great opportunity to have success in life. And I'm very appreciative of it. Trust me, tonight is a little bit of a pick me up to, for me, just to see everybody. And, I'm ready to go charging out the door to coach and play. And, but we'll have to wait to see what happens next.
Katie.
Well, similar to Teddy, I mean, this is energizing, that's for sure. And it's great to see everyone's faces, and just want to say thank you so much for being as engaged as you are. And our kids will continue to need your engagement on so many different levels. And just want you to hopefully have time to enjoy this very unusual time that we're in with your family and friends, and stay healthy and well.
Everybody, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was really a privilege and an honor to EMC this. I hope you found it interesting. Got a chance to hear from the coaches and the players, and we hope to see you all at the rinks before too long. And of course, my shameless plug is Give to Harvard Hockey. Thanks, everyone, and have a great night.